Welcome to the overview of accounting items to plan ahead for. This particular video is really targeted towards a couple of folks in the company. And depending on if you're a large or small company, this may be several people or this may be one or two. The owner, first of all, so the owner is aware of the process that we're going to go through as we transition the accounting information into Control and start to use Control as the accounting tool for your business. Secondly, the general manager, if there is one. And thirdly, the lead accounting person. In this video, we're really going to cover three types of things. Number one, advice for preparing. Number two, things just for you to think ahead about, not that you need to do anything now. And then thirdly, some things that you may want to clean up. And again, I'm speaking probably towards the accounting person who's probably going to take the hands-on to-dos here. The first piece of advice is to start early. The process of setting up your control, your parts, your pricing, transitioning your accounting information, etc., will take some time. So it's good to get started on, in particular, the suggestions that we mentioned in this video early. Later, as you prepare to make the transition from your old system to your new system, there are going to be a handful of reports that you're going to need to print out of your old system. We'll walk you through the steps later on in the setup steps. You don't have to write this down now. But this is the kind of information that you're going to want to make sure is clean, ready to go as you approach the end of the month, that time when you're going to make the switch to Control. Closing balance sheet, a closing income statement, a listing of accounts receivables, and if you can get it with the pre-tax totals and the sales tax amounts, that's handy in some cases. A listing of the accounts payables, and your bank and credit card account registers. Now, you don't need to print this now, because again, we're going to go through some other setup and control. But this video is more intended just to kind of give you a heads up so that if you need to clean up some of these things, you've got time to do that in parallel with the other setup that's going to happen. Later in the setup steps, we'll give you instructions on when to print these reports and what to do with them. And we'll do that as we approach the transition date, meaning the last day that you're using your old system for accounting. We recommend that your transition date be the last day of a month. Your financials will be much easier to use going forward if you do that. And then finally, the following day after the transition date is the go live date. This is really the first day that you're starting to use Control officially for your accounting. Now here are some other ideas for things that you may want to look at and think about whether or not there's room to clean some of these things up before you bring your information over to Control. And this is, again, from experience in working with companies as they have transitioned their accounting. Number one, enter all your payables for the ending month prior to closing the existing system. Two, settle your accounts payable where possible. Regarding receivables, where you can, obviously collect those. It never hurts to make another push if you haven't had one recently. If there are bad debts to write off, then maybe after discussing it with your accountant, if he or she agrees, this may be the time to do that. Reconcile your latest bank and credit card statements. Settle employee advances if you have them and if this is an appropriate time. And the same with short-term loans, again, if this is an appropriate time. And then finally, if you have petty cash accounts or express cash funds, it'd be a good idea to reconcile those. And this is kind of getting some of this work out of the way before we get down to that transition time, which will be a busy period. This final month on your old accounting system will be a little bit of an unusual month. And there are really three main reasons as to why this will be the case. The first is that final work that you're going to do to transition your accounting information from your old system to Control is going to take a couple of days. And this may vary depending on how much information you decide to bring over or the complexity of your business. And during this period, you'll be holding transactions and other GL entries until Control is ready to go live. some of those things you might be holding might be deposits. You might not be able to invoice, etc. And that's okay. That's all natural. That's part of the process. And again, there are step-by-step instructions on exactly what you need to do down at the end of, when the time comes, you'll get to those, is at the end of the setup steps. Another reason why this might be an unusual or atypical month is that you're going to complete your posting entries in the old system and close the month at the end of the month, and really try to get that as close to the end of the month as possible. And then finally, all the entries posted in Control will be moving forward into the new month. There may be some payables not yet received when you're making the transition. Plan to post them in the new month where that's applicable. If that presents a problem, what you may want to do is contact the vendor and get the totals for those amounts, those various transactions, and post those in the old system. And again, this is before you have the bill, but if it's important you have those numbers in the old system, then this is one strategy that you might want to deploy. Now, one other helpful thing to think about right now, so this doesn't hold up the process later, is for you to take a look at Control's standard check reports and compare those to your current check format, or to take a look at them and see if those will work well for you. And we've included a PDF on the website just below the link for this video with the couple of standard check reports that we currently have in the system. If none of those work for you, contact your point person at the startup department and ask them if they can put together an estimate of the cost for customizing the check report for the style that you use. And if necessary, if you use a different check for your payroll, you may want to do the same, go through the same process there as well. Finally, the purpose of this video is really to give an overview of some of the things the accounting team ought to be aware of. In some cases, it may lead to some cleanup work and some prep work to do in parallel while the rest of the team is going through the rest of the setups, including parts and pricing and other things like that. We hope this video has been helpful for you, and we wish you luck. Thank you.